This is a good spot as any to take this caller. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, or question? Actually, PJ, what's on your mind?
Thanks, man. How's it going?
It's going good, man.
Hope the little tech gets better soon. I'm gonna say this nice and slow because I tend to stutter and ramble.
Not a problem.
It was unquestionable that CNN, Chris Cuomo in particular, was disproportionately more aggressive towards Bernie than to O'Malley, and certainly than towards Hillary. CNN is a subdivision of Time Warner. Time Warner is the seven top donator to the Hillary Clinton campaign. If this forum does anything to anyone, it should enlighten people how corrupt money in politics makes the entire discussion. BernieSanders.com. Donate. Get this crap out of our airwaves, out of our discussion, out of our lives.
And think about this, PJ. Think about this, PJ. What was the law passed? And I can't think of it off the top of my head. Someone in the chat room help me out. The law that President, I believe, President Clinton, the Media Act, that actually opened up the market to these conglomerates, these media conglomerates. They got rid of the equal airtime where opposing ideas had to be on the air. You know, it really paved the way for exactly what Hillary Clinton is benefiting from. Now, clearly, I'm not saying—
Is it the fairness doctrine? Is that what
well, it's the fairness doctrine, but it's also a law that they passed that essentially opened up the profit motive in businesses and then allowed all of these major conglomerates, media conglomerates, to take place. Now, this came at the hands of Bill Clinton, if I'm not mistaken. I'm really just going off of what I remember. But the point is that it's like it's one big scratching your back, scratch my back, right? It's these policies that money gets access to these politicians, and these politicians are going to enact policies that are going to benefit these corporations, and these corporations are going to turn around and give more money to these politicians. And it's a never-ending cycle. It's a never-ending cycle. And unless you're right, I think the last thing you said was get money out of politics. Unless we do that, we're never going to get rid of this endless cycle of perversions. Because honestly, like you said, what we saw tonight was one big setup to me for Hillary Clinton. And I think Martin O'Malley may have stole the show because he had the most to win. But let's not get it twisted. This was about Hillary Clinton. And I'm going to show this on the screen. I'm keeping you on the line while I do this since you brought this up. I'm going to show it on my screen. Open Secrets. Everybody knows opensecrets.org. You go there for yourself. Here is Hillary Clinton's top contributors throughout her career. Citigroup, Goldman Sachs. Where's Time Warner? Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Time Warner over her career has given $501,000 as a company, $476,000 individuals, and $25,000 from PACs. Number 1, Citigroup. Number 2, Goldman Sachs. So Time Warner, yes, owns CNN. At the last second, they get this big rally, this big forum, because her polls are going down in Iowa. And all of a sudden, she gets the last word, and she gets to have this mass presentation in front of all of the Iowa voters. And I'll be interested in seeing how these polls come out tomorrow. PJ, you got anything else for me?
No, that's it. I just can't wait to see there were so many faux pas, especially that last kid at the end saying, I can see why they gave you this question. So now Twitter's lighting up with how everyone's saying, is CNN like planting these people or scripting the questions and all that? I mean, it's obvious to people who pay attention to politics, but it's open in the limelight. It's one of those real political whoopsie-daisies, you know?
Absolutely.
And it just this whole thing is going to lead to just a cavalcade of comedy in the next couple of weeks as we continue to follow Bernie's example and continue to mistrust the media and mistrust the corporations and establishment.
Thanks so much for the call, man.
Yeah, have a good night.
You too. But look at this. I mean, this is open. Let's, for the hell of it, let's just see. Right? I like to be fair. Let's do a Bernie Sanders. Let's see what we can find for Bernie Sanders, because I've honestly never looked. Somebody has him down as a presidency. Let's see what his top contributors are. Fundraising goals. Campaigns committee targeting Bernie Sanders organization. I don't think this is the same chart. All right, I'll find it while I take this next call. I'll find what I'm looking for. Caller, you're live on Bernie Sanders' top contributors for the lifetime of his career. The Machinists and Aerospace Workers Union, Teamsters Union, National Education Association, United Auto Workers, United Food and Union Workers Union, Communication Workers of America, Labor Unions, National Association of Letter Carriers, Postal Workers, American Association for Justice, American Federation of State and County Municipal Employees, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, United Transportation Union, Unite Here, United Steel Workers. Okay, listen, I knew this intuitively, and I knew it because of the type of person Bernie Sanders is, and I knew it because of because people talk about Bernie Sanders really only taking money from the people, never from the corporations. Folks, if you believe for a second that Hillary Clinton is going to be fighting more, let's not get it twisted. She may pass some legislation that's beneficial to some of the people, some of the times. But if you believe that she's going to be fighting more for the people, then she will be the people who are putting all this money to fund her campaigns. And not just fund her campaigns, but fund her lifestyle and paying for Chelsea's wedding, $1 million wedding. You know, this $100 million, if they came out of the White House as broke as they claim they did, then $100 million right now, that came from what, the last 15 years? How much is that every year? Just shy of $10 million every year? Well, okay, I'm not the math person, but you know what I mean. If you really believe that she is going to be beholden to the people more so than she's going to be beholden to the people who are giving her money and the organizations that are giving her money, I don't know how you can legitimately justify that to yourself. And I want to add, and I'm not saying this is why you should vote for Bernie, right? I'm not going to use my airways to tell you this is why you should vote for Bernie. I'm going to use my airways to tell you this is what good progressivism is. This is what's going to be best for America. And you make the decision of which candidate is going to be best for America, right? But if you believe that this means that Hillary Clinton is going to work harder for you than she is Goldman Sachs, then I really have to question your grasp on reality. $225,000 for 45 minutes for anything means that you're purchased. You're bought. You're purchased. Your voice, and this is indicative of the transition. Now, I don't, part of me really does not believe that they've been like this. I'll tell you why I believe this. I'm going to play this clip by Elizabeth Warren. I don't really believe that they've been like this. Hillary has been like this all the time. Here's Elizabeth Warren, and you'll understand why.
He said, Professor Warren, we've got to stop that awful bill, referring to this bankruptcy bill that's sponsored by the credit card companies. So I left. She went back to Washington, and I heard later from someone who was a White House staffer that there were skid marks in the hallways when Mrs. Clinton got back as people reversed direction on that bankruptcy bill. And in her autobiography, Mrs. Clinton took credit for that veto, and she rightly should. She turned around a whole administration on the subject of bankruptcy. She got it.
And then?
One of the first bills that came up after she was Senator Clinton was the bankruptcy bill.
And?
She voted in favor of it.
Why?
As Senator Clinton, the pressures are very different. It's a well-financed industry. A lot of people don't realize that the industry that gave the most money to Washington over the past few years was not the oil industry, was not pharmaceuticals. It was consumer credit products. Those are the people, the credit card companies have been giving money, and they have influence.
And Mrs. Clinton was one of them, as senator.
She has taken money from the groups, and more to the point, she worries about them as a constituency.
Right there. She worries about them as a constituency. I don't, just based off this conversation, right? I don't believe that Hillary Clinton started off as a corporate shill. I do believe that the longer you stay in Washington and the more your position is valuable to people who can buy you out, the longer you have to fight back against the temptation of taking the money from the lobbyists, you know, for the most part, all across the board legal. The longer you have to fight against the pressures. And I think somewhere along the line, they just completely caved in and decided we got to get paid. I think that's ultimately what they decided. They needed to get paid. Maybe they legitimate now I'm not talking about Bill Clinton and everything he did while he was in the White House, right? I'm not talking about Hillary Clinton and her super predator speech, right? I know that they had problems while they were in the White House. Absolutely had problems while they're in the White House. But on just this one particular issue, you see where she made a 180-degree about face from what she previously stated was important to her, and ultimately exposed most of America to draconian style bankruptcy rules that really has taken the benefit or the purpose of bankruptcy away, right? So somewhere along the line, they completely lost their way. And I just don't, and it's not even so much about them. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not even about Hillary. It's really about what she's doing to her followers, what she's doing to progressivism, and the fact that so many people can absolutely turn away from the reality that two major things. Number one, that the best way forward for a leader, the best trait that we should look for in a leader is someone who's only going to fight for the things that we know we can get the Republicans to work on, or to fight for the easy things, to fight for the things that aren't necessarily our values, but just for the sake of getting something done. That's what we want in a leader. When has that ever been a trait of a true leader? But now this is emerging as a venerated value that we should look for in a presidential candidate. That to me is disgusting. That's one of the number one things that bothers me about this candidacy. It's not Hillary Clinton. It's the fact that she has convinced her people that we should not try to change anything, that we should go for the status quo. That's number one that bothers me. Number two that bothers me is the fact that her followers, she's convincing them to just turn away from not only things that are progressive, but things that are common sense. That if you accept the majority of your money from Wall Street, that you are going to be holding to Wall Street. 1 + 1 = 2. If this was a Republican running that has accepted this much money from Wall Street, Hillary Clinton herself would call them on it and say, how are you going to represent the people when you've taken all this money from Wall Street? But again, it's not about her. It's about the fact that she has convinced right now a good majority of left-leaning Americans that this is somehow a progressive value and that she is somehow not going to be beholden to Republicans. All right, let me shift gears and talk about